Sorry, everybody. My battery died, so I'm really hoping somebody saved that last video I just got done on. Actually, I wasn't done. So anyway, to finish up, basic points, Admiralty, Maritime. Admiralty is a naval term. Maritime means military and commerce. And so when we talk about Admiralty Maritime, what they're doing is they're transferring their jurisdictional enforcement militarily to the land jurisdiction for commerce. And that's why our courts are all commercial, all crimes are commercial. They have a military enforcement. And basically we see this through your UCC again, like I said, shows that there's the law is uniform throughout all jurisdictions. And so when we talk about jurisdictions, we're talking about military jurisdictions and commercial jurisdictions. Now, the Naval Admiralty is the highest jurisdiction that transfers that jurisdiction through maritime, which is your military and commerce on land. So when we go and we sign these traffic citations, this is another very important issue I want to point out to people, through actual first-hand experience myself. Several tickets, and I'll explain some of them. I got a couple dog tickets, dog at large and dog causing harm. I signed them, but first I put UCC 1-308, and then I never went to court on them. No, I would not say birthday. The day I was born on. Today is a different day. And there's a particular day I was born on, and it's said to be August 20th of the year 1966. Nativity, yes. But anyway, so then I just never showed up in court. Well then, if some of you are familiar with my private property placards that I put on both my truck and my car. Now, in my car, I got pulled over several times for certain things like no seatbelt, or I got pulled over and got tickets for no seatbelt, no insurance, various things like that, but they never mentioned my plate. And those two I signed with UCC 1-308 first, and then just never went to court. And so I got several tickets like that. Then I got pulled over in my truck, again with private property placards by the county sheriff, who then violated my rights because I handed them a driver license, a corporate ID, saying that I was under their jurisdiction. I did not comprehend this back then at that time. And I can still assert it. Though the damage has been done, I've already had to serve my 47 out of 60 days, and that's a story all in itself. Some of you have heard. But as far as these tickets, these citations that I signed, UCC 1-308, I just never went to court. And these are all previous to this one where they actually arrested me, charged me. I went to trial and everything. And this is the last case I've ever had. Now, when they sentenced me on this case, they also sentenced me, along with the 60 days, to do a drug evaluation and give a DNA sample. Now, I'm going to tell you about the enforcement through my own firsthand experience. Because as I've stated, I've had interactions with the local police in the meantime. Now, during my last trial, the DA put a protection order out on that person named as the defendant. And each year since, that was 3 years ago, each year since, they renew that protection order. They no longer want to conduct commerce with me. They no longer want to contract with myself. And they've conveyed that through that protection order. Now, along with that protection order being renewed, like I said, I've had interactions with these local police, and when they try to identify me, I have no identification. I tell them I have no name. I don't have a birthday. And the third part to the identification, a requirement, is the party that that person is employed by. Iowa State driver license. That person is employed by Iowa State. He is employed by Iowa State through that driver license, and it is known as a motor vehicle lease, listed under Title 26 of the United States Code, Section 7701H, wherein it clarifies that you're operating commercially at least 50% of the time that you're on the road. Under the very last part of that same lease, it says lessor must not have knowledge that certification is false. That word certification relates to the word certificate of title. The title is as an operator under the lease contract. Why do they classify you as an operator and give you a certification? Because you registered your private automobile as a motor vehicle. They claimed you're required to. False. And you can clarify that, because there are no records stating that you are on a time log at least 50% of the time while you're on the road performing commerce, let alone that you're even performing commerce. Think about this stuff. The only facts that they have are presumptions. I plead guilty to the facts, but not the nature. As a paramount party in interest, the secured party, as holder of, in due course, of legal title of the person named as defendant, I am the American national standing here today to fend for that United States citizen in honor as the American national in defense of the public charitable trust against all incursions, foreign or domestic. Learn to use the right words, people. That's all it is. It's all it is. And always reserve your rights. Always stand up for them. And if you remember some particular video I did here back in August of last year or something like that, you don't have any rights. What you have is responsibilities and a due diligence to uphold those responsibilities both for and to your fellow man. Do no harm. Go forth and prosper and be abundant. Love thyself. Love thy neighbor as thyself. And these are simple words that you're not going to find in their legislation. Period. Plain and simple. It's only equitable. It's only fair and impartial. That if I want to maintain my rights, then I better be able to establish them and witness them for my fellow man. If I wish to partake I have to carry due diligence to let others partake in whatever they want. It's their choice. It's their belief. And if they believe they have that right, then they have that right. I have no laws against it. As long as it's not harming me, I'm not going to bring my force of arms. I'm not going to rise up militarily against it. I might say something if I think it's rude or disrespectful, but hey, that's just honesty and only an opinion. And that's what all these courts are, opinions. When I get down to law, you talk about the right words. Yeah, I'm over here partaking. Aren't you partaking? Yeah? Understand, people. One of the most important things I want you to understand, when I do my research, I think about three particular words: etiology, etymology, and epistemology. Etiology, the first one, etiology, that's the study of cause. What causes things, okay? And when we think about that word cause, we think about the nature and cause of the crime, okay? That's what we're talking about when we're pleading guilty to these charges. Are you pleading guilty to the nature and cause of the charges? Well, I plead guilty to the nature or the facts of the nature or whatever, but there's no cause in the affidavit, or the officer hasn't even provided an affidavit of cause yet, you know. And that's just, you got to clarify that stuff. So, again, think about this. This is all just coming right down to the original words, original jurisdiction, which they don't have. So again, when we think about these words and how they started out, Phoenician, we always talk about phonetics, how things sound, the way the word sounds. And when we talk about phonetics and the words, we talk about the spoken word. When we write things down and it becomes a written language, we've written it down. We've reduced it from its original truth simply because now there are two factors existing. One is a conveyance, which can be misconveyed, and the other is an interpretation, which can be interpreted wrong, can be misinterpreted. So now we have a reduction of the original truth simply by proxy of a possibility. And that's why we have clarifications. So let me clarify something about your Christian name. A lot of people talk about this David Wynn Miller and how a language is all about mathematics. He's correct. When we think about language, we think about letters, punctuation marks, words, sentences, paragraphs, pages, chapters, books, titles, things like that. And it's all constructed numerically, because you can't write a sentence without first writing words. You can't write words without first writing letters. You can't write letters without first writing symbols. You can't write any of that without first having a mathematical pattern in which to write them down. That's your superior language. So when you see a word or a title, we'll talk about the all caps name, it's a title, and you see it 1, 2, 3, first, middle, last, or last, middle, first, it's set up 1, 2, 3. No matter whether they want to call it first, middle, last, it's still 1, 2, 3. Or it's 3, 2, 1. It's the last name first, and then the first, and then the last, or middle. You numerically assign each one, so that no matter which order you put them in, you can simplify it to its original form. The problem is people don't recognize the original Christian form of their name because nobody ever writes it anymore. So when we think about first, middle, last, we have to be able to correct it to the first calling with the hyphen, the second calling, which is your second name, or second, it's your second calling, second Christian calling. A lot of people are named after both of their grandfather and their father because they have characteristics of both. The first name is your personality. The second name is a character within that personality. Both are considered callings. And then a full stop colon. And then the family from which you came from, which is heretical. It's automatically bound, not commercially, but through heredity of the land from where you come from. Little, for instance, denotes a family that came from the Little River area in a particular part of this nation. And therefore they took on, oh, that's Albert from Little. I'm Keith Orland of the family Conrady with Little of what? Of Dubuque on Iowa. The right words define exactly the land that consists right here. The air and the water from where I came. The original issue, and it denotes all events. And I can give you a hearsay approximation of when it happened. All you got to do is learn the right words, people. Anyway, I'm hoping somebody saved that first video I just did. Again, I'm sorry, my battery ran out. I had to hook up again to my cord. So if somebody saved that, send it to me, please. In the meantime, I wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for you guys. It's really simple. You just get the hang of how it all works. Admiralty is Navy. And that's why they carry jurisdiction of the sea in connection with maritime, which is military and commercial. And therefore, a transfer of jurisdiction of commerce from land to land by land military forces to enforce the commercial acts fairly, uniformly, throughout all jurisdictions. Period. If it weren't for you guys, I wouldn't be doing this. I'm glad y'all watching me on Friday night instead of out there partying. Yep. Listen to that comment by Sean Lane right there. D in French, for example, means of thee, and L means the. D-R-I-V-L-I, license of the river. The I in the sense, the I sense of the river, correct. And again, that's transportation, traffic. Traffic on the land, transport. Why are they transporting? They're transferring it from one port to another. Transportation, traffic, all commerce, period. So anyway, think about this stuff and have a great night, folks. Love y'all. Bye.